So today we're going to be going over regressive core movements. It's kind of the foundation for all human movement. Also great for people who are just starting out to exercise, or people who are coming back from an injury or having a child.
Any kind of trauma to your core section, or a period of time where you are not training or not exercising a lot, it's good to always check back in with your core first to make sure that what's combining your arms and your legs is strong so that you're not causing any injuries. So especially, Kyle said, after childbirth, we have a lot of regression in the core area because it's very stretched out, but it could be anything.
Or any other surgery that involves cutting through any part of your core, rib cage, or where you've been laid off for an extended period of time and you haven't been exercising. So we'll get started first with just a really simple TBA activation exercise. So we're just going to start laying down on your back. You want to focus on pulling your belly button into your spine. You can take your index finger and your middle finger, find your hip and move about an inch towards your belly button. And if you're activating the TBA, which is the transverse abdominis, you should feel those muscles under your fingers working. You also want to make sure that your lower back, you feel the lower back pressing into your mat or pressing into the ground. Because as we engage the core, it kind of eliminates that curve that we naturally have in our spine. So you should begin to feel the lower back pressing against your mat. All right, so this is kind of the first variation, and we can progress it by lifting our feet up off the ground. If we keep the knees directly over the hips, it's going to be easier. If we move the feet out, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But you want to make sure you're holding it. Keep that belly button pulled into your spine, and your lower back is staying flat against the ground. And then from there, you can make it a little bit harder by extending one leg out, and then bringing it back in. And then switching sides, you can do that for 30, 45 seconds, building up to a minute. And then the fourth and hardest progression here is going to be what's known as a dead bug. So you're going to alternate the opposite arm and leg moving, really focusing on keeping that core engaged, pulling that belly button into your spine, keeping the lower back flat against your mat. So after the dead bug, so that's working on kind of the anterior side of our core. Now we want to work the other side of our core, which is the posterior chain. So that's going to be your glutes, hamstrings, but also all the back muscles in your back. So we're going to start off just with a very simple bridge or glute bridge. You want to start by engaging your core, so pull that belly button into your spine just like we did for the dead bug. And you're going to focus on squeezing your glutes, driving your feet into the ground to lift your hips up. And the first progression, we're just going to sit there and hold it. Start 20, 30, 40 seconds, whatever you can. Then we can make it a little bit more challenging by trying to lift one foot off the ground. You can hold that like 1, 2, 3 and alternate, kind of doing a marching. Here you want to focus on keeping your hips parallel to the ground so your hips aren't rocking side to side. Then we go to a third progression that's a little bit more challenging where we're doing hip raises with 2 feet. So just nice and slow, going down to the ground, pressing through your heels, squeezing your glutes, lift your hips up. Then we go to a fourth progression, doing the same thing but with 1 foot in the air. Sometimes it also helps to take that right foot and put it on your knee. That kind of eliminates your ability to use that right leg to swing your hips up. So these you should feel a lot in your glutes, a little bit in your core, maybe a little bit in your hamstrings as well. The bird dog next. So this is kind of a great exercise to work to building up to where you can do full planks or forearm planks. So you're going to start in tabletop position, pull your belly button into your spine just like we did for the dead bug. So you want a nice neutral spine here, and you're going to extend the opposite arm and leg. You want to focus on keeping the shoulders flat, hips flat, and you want the lower back nice and flat as well. You should feel the hips working, core working, a little bit of the shoulders. So that's the first progression, is just holding it, and we can make it a little bit harder by bringing it in and out. So bring your knee and elbow in and out, nice and slow. Making sure, you want to imagine like you're trying to balance a cup of water here on your lower back, so that your hips are staying stable, that your lower back is nice and flat. And then from there, we can go into different plank variations. So you can start doing a plank by just doing it on your knees and your elbows. We can also do plank variations where we're going from the wall. So you can do like a straight arm plank from the wall, you can do mountain climber from the wall. And then once you can do it against the wall and it's pretty easy, you can go find an elevated surface, whether it's a chair or a bench or a plyo box. And you can do straight arm plank, mountain climbers, plank taps, all from the elevated position where gravity's going to be acting a little bit less of your body weight, it'll be a little easier.